There we go. Well, awesome, girls. I love it when we tag team this. So fun. Good job, Joy, for your first intro. You get an A plus. Good job. So what we like to do, and we've started every week coming up with a different topic, and just to give you a little more insight. And the brain, obviously the central computer of our bodies is so important to everything about what we do, whether it's vision, it's hearing, it's motor skills, muscle, very important for social connection. And we're going to go a little deeper than we normally do on this topic. So the size of the brain, it's in correlation with your body, but around 3 pounds for men, a little less, 2.5 for women. And there's different aspects of your brain. So the left side would be more the analytical. So your logic, grammar, language, memory, facts, words, all of that. If you are left-brained, if you are, an accountant, you are probably in that left brain quadrant. If you have a little more free flow to you, the creativity, visualizing things, imagination, multitasking, intuition, arts, this is definitely Cami. All of that side there would be Cami. I'm a little of both. I'd say Joy's probably a little bit more on that right side too, but kind of interesting. So there's different aspects of your brain that are controlling different things. And when we're young and we've got lots of those amazing stem cells that keep us healthy and growing and repairing, this brain is pretty well balanced, and we're utilizing each of these areas very freely and without thought. That's the beautiful thing of the brain. It just does what it's going to do. But there's so much complexity in here. And here's the reality. We might think that our brain is great and we are doing wonderful, but there is something out there called a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. And so in a moment, you just don't know when it's going to happen to you. But annually, about 1.7 million people find themselves dealing with this. And there's about 5.3 million people in America that we are aware of. Of course, I'm sure there's many that are undocumented dealing with a TBI. So who better to talk to you on this than our own Joy, who went through her traumatic brain injury, and I got to be her wheels for several years, taking her to doctor's appointments and grocery shopping. But I'll let her tell you from her side what that seemed like.
Thank you, Tracy. So yes, I had a traumatic brain injury, and it completely changed my whole life. It changed me from being an extrovert, primary extrovert, to a huge introvert. So like the way that we get energy, I had to be in quiet and peace as opposed to being with people. And that's how I used to get energy. It was a whole new way of learning how to be. There's different parts of your brain that do cognitive function. They help with your memory, attention, processing speed, problem solving, language. My cognitive, when I damaged, was pretty okay. It was my sensory processing part, the data in and out, that I really had damaged badly. So I had lost all my filters. So like my vision, my hearing, different things like that were like on superpower. And I could see the pixelation in screens, and I could hear everything. When we're babies, from the time we're infants, our brains start to filter out different things that are not necessary for us to be aware of at the time, like excess noises or excess visual things, because our brains can only process so many bits of data at a time. And so anyway, it does a fantastic job for us. This is what a healthy neuron looks like here, and what a diseased neuron looks like. A healthy neuron has a tunnel that transmits the information over it. Here you can see a diseased neuron is starting to get frayed, and actually they end up getting entangled. When I damaged my brain, I had damaged some of the neurons, and so information was not able to get from one place to another very easily. It had to figure out how to get around or rebuild neurons. Neurons are something that we can rebuild. We have neural pathways that we can rebuild. We have a subconscious state that happens when we're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And a lot of times we have neural pathways that have been encoded us either from different things that have happened in our lives, or they're finding with the study of epigenetics that we carry 14 generations of trauma and things in our in our body on a cellular level. So the way to rebuild neurons is to one, recognize and be aware that they need to be rebuilt. Two, practice pausing. And then three, actually choose how we want those neurons to be rebuilt and in what state. So when we sometimes have subconscious patterns of behavior, they don't serve us any longer, and we need to rebuild those. And it's like going out in the woods with a machete and starting to, build a path. And then as we continue to do more and more, go along that path more and more, it will eventually become a trail, and then a highway, then a freeway, and that's our subconscious pattern that we've rebuilt. Tracy, you want to take over?
Now we know why she went through what she went through, so she could teach us that. Pretty cool. So I have some of these slides that I kind of borrowed from Dr. Harmon. He does a really great program on the brain, but he talks about EEG coherence. So that's hemispheres in the brain. And when they're in sync, we have really good expression and brain function, and everything works well. The opposite of that, though, is called hypocoherence. So that's when things are not working and syncing well. And that gives us that diminished cognitive efficiency. And that can look like a lot of different things. But he was talking about the fact that we lose about 9,000 neurons a day. And it used to be believed that when we are losing those neurons, there's no way to get them back because they thought we were born with X number of them. But they've actually found that you can regenerate them. So about 2,000 to 4,500 a day can be rebuilt. The sad thing, though, is that decline. It starts around age 30. And, to me, age 30, I was finally figuring out life, and here I was already on my decline. But the cool thing with what we're talking about here is we can change Mother Nature's design. So I'm going to have Joy walk you through what some of these different brain patterns look like.
So this is the difference between a normal brain and a bipolar brain. My uncle actually was bipolar and was brilliant. But he would have periods where he would go into depression, and then periods where he'd think he was God and had all these wonderful things that he thought he knew, but his brain was playing tricks on him. And so, a lot of times we wonder why somebody is not acting normal. It's because their brain is inflamed and or is firing differently than a normal brain. This is a depiction of PTSD. We cannot determine what is traumatic for different people. Different things are traumatic on different levels for different people. And it actually changes your brain's topography. This is a depiction of ADHD. And what it does in your brain. It makes your brain fire differently. It can cause you to be squirrely, to get distracted or hyperfocus. Depression, this is a depiction of a normal depressed brain, or normal brain versus a depressed brain. One of the interesting things when I had my concussion is I went to vision therapy and got new glasses. You have two cameras, and you put the pictures together. Your brain normally does that when it's on automatic, and mine had gone to manual, and so it wiped me out and caused me to be extremely tired trying to do that every day. And so they gave me new glasses with prisms, but they also tinted them blue because blue tinted glasses were supposed to be able to help me look at electronics and not get nauseous and sick. And I got my new glasses and I could see and I wasn't as tired. But man, I felt like I was weighed like concrete, like I was full of concrete and I couldn't get up. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I went to my PCP and they were like, well, you're wearing blue glasses and there is a reason why they say you're feeling blue. And so the blue tinted glasses were actually causing me to have chronic depression. And it was an interesting thing because I went back and I talked to my neuro-optometrist and he did vision therapy, okay? And he did light therapy, light syntonic therapy for vision therapy, which is a type of therapy where they use different colors to actually trigger different parts of your brain to rewire them. And he was like, man, I didn't even connect that, but you are the second person this week that has told me they're having issues with depression. And so he immediately changed out my blue glasses to regular glasses. And then I didn't feel heavy anymore. I didn't have the depression, but it was really weird because I actually played around with it where I would put the glasses on and I could feel it just come over me. And I'd take the glasses off and a little while later, I was fine. It's very
Wow.
interesting.
Amazing that, wow, something to help you can create your own depression. Wow. So teaming with what Joy just shared and looking at the brains, I wanted to share Lifewave did a study. It's an independent study. The company didn't do it. They hired a very smart science team to do it. And it's called a brain mapping study. And they had people between the age of 50 and 80. They used the X39 patch exclusively for 12 hours a day for 6 weeks. They put the patch either on the back of their neck, that bumpy knob is called the C7, or 3 inches below their navel. And then what they did is they used thermography, which is brain mapping, and they looked at these different participants at their baseline. So this lady here is a 77-year-old lady. And what you see in session 1, baseline, before she's used any patches, she has a hot brain. That orange and red represents inflammation that is impeding her body's ability to have the highest level of cognition. So the first check-in, now 3 weeks into wearing the patches at session 2, you see it goes cold. So it's not the patch doing this. This is signaling, the patch is just a signal tool. The body is doing the adjustment. So her brain goes cold, and then at the conclusion of the study, which is session 3, she has a perfectly balanced dual hemisphere. One side is larger, the other side is smaller. But what she's experiencing here is decreased inflammation, improved memory, focus, cognitive function. And that is largely because of the GHK copper peptide that the body is bringing back because of her wearing that X39 patch. This next person is a 67-year-old female. She's a manual therapist. She does craniosacral and massage work. And look at this poor lady. She's taking on all of the heat of everybody I think she's worked on. Look at that hot brain. That poor lady, I'm sure, is just scattered and not able to really function well. That's her baseline. But you can see how her body's adjusting in session 2 and conclusion of the study. It's a much more cooled down and more balanced brain. This here is a 67-year-old man, and you can see the changes in his, he wore the patch below his navel. And so you can see how that brain gets much cooler by the end of the 6-week study. This one I think is really interesting because this actually is a lady, and she starts out with a very cold brain. So everybody has what they have, however you got here. Is this stress? Is this an injury? Is it a genetic? Is it diet? Is it, substance? Whatever does this to the brain, the body has the ability to go back into homeostasis. That's the critical thing, and that's what's cool about these patches. It's all natural. Helps the body just to regenerate and find that balance. But this here is a lady who had a major cognitive event, kind of a little blowout in her brain. And I want to stress here that we are not here to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent. This is simply informational purposes. You always work with your doctor. Just sharing her experience here in 1 month. Her facial expression was very drooped. And the facial nerve problem actually resolved in 4 days. She had lower back pain. She had a lot of other things that were not related to her brain that got corrected, but that improved eyesight, that's a brain function. So a lot of people and everybody's timeline is quite different. She also had Bell's palsy, and she had lost that vision in the one eye, and it came back. That was 5 days for her. This lady had Barr syndrome.
Guillain-Barré.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
Guillain-Barré.
thank you.
It's Guillain-Barré.
Guillain-Barré. There we go. That's a strange name, but look at those crazy miswired eyes. And, her mouth over here on the bottom right is a little crooked and not off, but her eyes are better. But here she is at the end. I believe this was a 5-week timeline for her. Her brain rewired. This little girl is very near and dear to my heart because Dr. Tracey is somebody we all look up to and admire. And this was her darling little girl who at age 4 was vaccine injured. It sent her family into a tailspin, and her results came back. They thought she had different types of cancers, and she needed I believe it was a bone marrow transplant. And anyway, she lived in the hospital for a year. In the process, she had a massive brain bleed on the left side of her head. And Dr. Tracey spent the last 14 years of this girl's life trying to breathe life back into her and rehab her and doing stem cell injections all around the world. She figures close to $1 million in this child's care over 14 years. But this little girl, baseline on the left, midpoint here, 6 months in, you can see she's starting to gain some weight. Her hand is straightening out. Her arms are straightening. Her body is relaxing. And her eyes start to get a little more in alignment in size. But this was 14 months later, and Dr. Tracey says that Taylor regained communication skills that she'd never had. They could have conversations with her, and she'd tell them about their day at school and different things because of what these patches did to rewire her brain and help with that inflammation and that balancing of the two hemispheres. So pretty remarkable, but you can see her eyes at 14 months. They're the same size because the brain hemisphere where the damage was got corrected. So what we're talking about here is the world's first ever phototherapy product that uses the human body as a power source. So we're a human battery, and the whole goal of these patches and the whole goal of our body is balance, homeostasis, and that's what these patches do for the body. And when you use them long enough, it resets your body to a younger, healthier state. We never know the timeline, depends on what you have going. But again, X39 is helping to organically bring out that GHK copper peptide. That in turn allows the stem cells to come back. But in terms of patch combinations for the brain, these two here are amazing. Cami told you about Energy Enhancer. Those athletes were using that. This is the new combo that all the athletes are using. Tom Brady could never have played football so late in his life without this combo because it's not only working on the body, it's working on the brain. It's doing so many good things. EMF protection. But the GHK copper peptide, it is a protein, and it is helping the neurons reconnect, and it is helping with brain function and neuroprotection. So it's helping that brain. If it's had an injury, it goes into survival mode, and this helps create a quicker recovery, regeneration. It also is helping regeneration of the nerve fibers and the genes. There's a regulation of 408 genes going up, and that's a good thing on some of these genes. Some of these naughty genes we don't want up, they actually bring 230 of them down. So that's good. If you're predisposed to cognitive decline or blood sugar issues or, many different things, when these genes can get reset, maybe that bypasses you and you didn't have to go through what your parents, grandparents, and so on did. But it helps modulate those neurotransmitters, really important. And it's also helping to promote that collagen, tissue repair. Well, the tissue of your brain is really a lot of collagen. All of our soft tissues are. So when you rehydrate and bring back your own collagen, you're doing a lot of good for that. So the GHK copper peptide also transports copper across the blood-brain barrier. So, most times we want to be very careful of things that cross that barrier. I'm told a lot of synthetic melatonins use fillers that can go across that blood-brain barrier, and that can set you up for a neurological decline. but this is a good way where it's helping to work with the neurons, the synapses, the neurotransmitters, and it can help make brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's a real good, feel-good type thing. So talking about another brain balancing patch is Eon. And Eon has been developed, I think that's about a 15-year-old patch. This company's 20 years old, by the way. I don't know if we said that. But way back before X39, X39 is only 5 years old. That's why it's so revolutionary and this company is growing so quickly. But the way that the people using this used to balance a brain was this patch, and they'd have to actually manually move it all around the head to reduce the inflammation. The beautiful thing now with the X39 is the repair cells that it brings out are very, very intelligent, and they seek out the crisis, the inflammation, and they fix it. So we're not having to move it all over our head. And another patch, in fact, I'm wearing it today right here on my chest. You can't see me at the moment, but I'll show you when I'm done. Carnosine, I love this because my brain is just sharper. And when I got to get a lot of stuff done, man, I pop this baby on. I know this is Joy's favorite patch too, but it plays an amazing role in our health. And it is a dipeptide, and it is helping to regenerate the muscles and the brain. It also is very excellent for the cardiovascular system as well. And there's this residing in the heart area as well. And again, like stem cells, we have a lot of these when we're young. We lose this. So it's an antioxidant. It is helping to prevent damage that's caused when sugars are binding with proteins. That's called glycation. And you might know that Alzheimer's, they are likening it to a type of diabetes, right? It's attacking the brain, creating those amyloid protein tangles. And this helps support that condition. It is also helping with oxidative damage in the brain and helps calm and improve muscle strength and stamina. So a lot of athletes love this patch too. It's reducing the toxic effects of the beta amyloid proteins, and we certainly don't want those in our brains. So if we can get them out, doing a lot for that. Wound healing, cognitive support. It also, they have found that carnosine, there are supplements out there, and it's like, you can't fool Mother Nature with a lot of these supplements. It's not really that effective at elevating carnosine. But using this patch is, because it's bringing back your own. And again, it's signaling the body who brings it back. Vegetarians, they find, have low carnosine levels because it is found in meat, which they are not consuming. Another patch that we love is glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. So it's opening our detox pathways. It's strengthening the immune system. This lives in the liver. That patch is so incredibly powerful, about 300% increase in your own glutathione after 24 hours. Of course, we wear these patches only 12, but they keep working. The body's working after we take them off. But I thought this was really interesting. So there are diseases that are linked to low glutathione. And so I've highlighted here the blue box, which is the neurological brain. And you probably recognize a number of these. So these folks don't have enough glutathione, which means those pathways intended to get the toxins out of the body are closed. So those toxins just kind of hang out and they wreak havoc. So when we start wearing this, it can be a game changer for a lot of different things. So I'm going to quickly, I know we're going a little over on time, have Joy share the gut-brain connection.
So they're So they're finding now that actually a lot of the feel-good hormones that we thought were only created in our brain and made in our brain are actually mostly created in our gut. So our gut microbiome is a very important thing that we need to keep up to par. And one of the ways that we can do that is by using patches in the gut regeneration system. It's an 18 to 90 day challenge. It utilizes 4 of the patches. We've talked about Eon as an anti-inflammatory, glutathione as a master detoxer, X39 as a cellular repair, and SP6 actually helps with addictions, cravings, and rebalancing hormones. Next slide. This is actually Tracey's bonus daughter, Angie. You can look and see the difference. She did the 18 days and lost 35 pounds. And eventually, after 6 months, was able to lose 70 pounds, and she wasn't even continuing to do it. She just had done the initial 18 days. It was not about losing weight. It was actually about getting rid of toxins. And what ends up happening in our bodies is our brain encapsulates fat or toxins in fat so that it'll protect us. So anyway, that's one way that you can help your gut and also lose weight. When I was actually at rehab for my brain injury, they required that I go to a counselor so that I could talk to them about things, because mental health is very important in recovery. They had us do yoga so we could learn how to breathe and do different positions that would help our brains. They actually talked to us about nutrition and about eating healthy. They gave us brain teasers, Sudoku, and different things to do to help our brains regenerate. Different things that are bad for your brain are saturated fats, metals in your diet, sugars, different things that are healthy for your brain foods, berries, dark greens, avocados. I actually had my neurologist tell me I needed to eat an avocado a day in order to have my brain help regenerate itself. Here's some other food that is great for brain health. Salmon, you need your omegas. Our brain is mostly made up of fat. And so you've got to feed it fat in order to have it, good fats, okay? You have to feed it good fats in order to have it regenerate. And now we're on to our question and answer section. So if any of you have questions, or if you'd like help building a package, Tracey, Cami, and I would be happy to help you.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We're going to go ahead and stop recording. We're sorry we went a little long, but hopefully you learned a thing or two. And we hope you'll come back and join us another time. Have a good night.